Om Vishnu Parana Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Shamata Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shri Devi Gunamanam Chanana Visheshasham Krishna Tadeshta Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Sri Radha Krishna 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 Ram Ram. Sri Chaitanya Charatamrita Antolila chapter 6 describes the meeting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Raghunath Das Goswami in Jagannath Puri. It's an extensive chapter and it describes extensively the development of Raghunath Das's Krishna consciousness and activities in particularly his detachment and renunciation, and he's the embodiment of renunciation in the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, amongst the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the beginning of that chapter, actually, the first 100 verses, they describe an incident which occurred today. On this day, it's remembered. And we'll describe this. This is called the Chira Dodhi Mahotsav. Chira Dodhi Mahotsav. The festival of the chip rice and yogurt. Chip rice and yogurt. Mate's text 12 of chapter 6. Mate Bihare Gold Laya Bhaktagan. Raghunath Milan Eve Shuno Bhaktagan. Raghunath Milan Eve Shuno Bhaktagan. Listen, O devotees. O devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya. Listen to how Raghunath Das Goswami met the Lord. We can see that here, even before meeting the Lord, he's referred to as Raghunath, Raghunath. And subsequently, he's known as Raghunath Das Goswami. So the Goswami title was bestowed upon him, but already he was called Raghunath Das, even from his younger life. And he had a guru, and his guru, Yadunandan Acharya, he was a disciple of Advaita Thakur. So, no question about his initiation and his guru, Yadunandan Acharya. Subsequently, he appears in the Leela when Raghunath was living. Now, Raghunath Das, he was coming from a very aristocratic, wealthy family of Bengali Brahmin landholders. And Mojumdar, Brahmins, Haranda and Govardhan Mojumdar. And they were so wealthy that they were supporting all of the Brahmin Vaishnavas in Bengal. And they were particularly favored by Srila Advaita Thakur. So we heard extensively how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Gaudadesh in his attempt to go to Vrindavan, and we discussed that in detail, the reasons for that, ultimately to deliver Rupa and Sanatan. And then Mahaprabhu, when he's traveling through Jharkhand forest, he says, "Oh, that whole abandoned project of going to Vrindavan via Bengal, that project actually, that was just Krishna's mercy upon me. So I'd make a decision to come through the forest here because this is so wonderful here. We're alone and eating the fresh vegetables that are sharp growing in the forest, and taking a bath in the rivers and waterfalls." So when Mahaprabhu returned to Bengal in his attempt to go to Vrindavan, he didn't visit Mayapur. In Shantipur himself, Mahaprabhu said that Sanyas dharma nahe shanyas kuriya nija janma sthane rahe kutumbalaya. It's not the duty of a sannyasi, having taken sannyas, to remain at home with his family members. So Mahaprabhu mentioned this. So this is a duty I have to follow. Sannyas dharma nahi sannyas kuri. Having taken sannyas, it's not the duty of a sannyasi, janmasthane rohe, to remain at home at his birthplace, Kutumbalaya, with his relatives. So when Mahaprabhu came to Bengal, he didn't go to Mayapur. In fact, having taken sannyas, Mahaprabhu never returned to Mayapur. But he came to Navadip. He was on the other side of the Ganga. He went to Koladip, he went to Vidyanagar. And in this way, all of the devotees from Navadip, they crossed Maganga. We also heard that in detail, and they were delivered by Mahaprabhu, even the offenders. So when Mahaprabhu went and met Ram, Rupa, and Sanatan, and then such a crowd had gathered, and then Sanatan Goswami actually, when they were leaving, returning to the home in the evening, Sanatan Goswami explained that actually this is not the appropriate way to go to Vrindavan with such crowds. And Mahaprabhu, he thought about it for a while, and then the next day he said, yeah, what Sanatan said is right. It'll be, people will not think well of me. They'll think I'm an imposter, I'll be critical. And so I'll just go to Vrindavan with one or two people. And Mahaprabhu did that, going through Jharkhand. Now, when he reached Ramkelli and then he went to Kanai Natasala, then he decided to come back. So again, as he was returning back along the banks of the Ganga, back to Puri, at that time also he went to Shantipur and he remained there for 10 days. So at that time, Raghunath Das, he went to Shantipur, the place where he was staying, Adi Shaptagram, not so far from Shantipur, in this area. This is text number 13. Purve Shantipure Raghunath Jabe Ailo Mahaprabhu Kripa Kori Tare Shik Ailo. When he was in Shantipur, Raghunath, we went there, Mahaprabhu Kripa Kori Tare Shik Ailo. Mahaprabhu taught him, Mahaprabhu instructed him when he was in Shantipur. At that time, Raghunath Das, he may have been married, but anyway, certainly that when he went back, he got married. As it's mentioned, we'll hear his wife mentioned. And he was probably 17 or 18 years old, something like that. Prabhu Shikaite, Teho, Nija Gore Jao. The Lord taught him, go back to your own house, go back to your own place, return home. Markat Baragya Chari, Koilo, Bishai Prai. And then you give up the Markat Baragya, the monkey renunciation. The monkey shows Markat Baragya, he shows great renunciation, but inside, or he hides and he maintains great attachment to sense gratification. That's a markata bharagi. So give that up, and rather just be renounced within and just be like a normal person externally. So Raghunath, he followed this instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and for 1 year he was very ideal in all of the household affairs. In fact, externally, he just appeared just like a very ideal householder. And inwardly, he was completely renounced inwardly. Now, for us to see, get a bit of an idea of how well he was doing in terms of being like a Bishai Prai, just like an ordinary householder. The uncle of Raghunath Das, Hiranya Majumdar, he got an opportunity to collect taxes for the government. He was doing that. And he was actually taking more than the quota that was allotted to him. And the person, this Mogul Chaudhary, who was previously collecting the taxes, he became envious when Hiranya Majumdar got the post. Anyway, so he was looking for some reason to attack him. And he went there, and he discovered that he was taking more money. So he went there with a minister of the government, with another government officer, and to arrest him. And then they Hiranya Majumdar, he wasn't there, and so they arrested Raghunath Das. And every day the Mughal Chaudhary would chastise Raghunath Das, and he would threaten to beat him, and he would say that you bring your elder brother and father, and otherwise I'll punish you, I'll beat you. But when he saw the face of Raghunath Das, he was unable. His mind changed. He was unable to beat Raghunath Das. So then Raghunath Das, he's very expert, and so he began to speak to that Chaudhary, how you're such an ideal person, and you're learned in Shastra, and you're very pious, and that you're like brothers. My uncle and you and my father, you're like brothers. Sometimes brothers quarrel, but I'm sure you three brothers will be happily together, enjoying association with each other in the future. So Chaudhary, he was affected by Raghunath Das's sweet words, and he influenced him. And so he released him from custody, and then he told him to arrange a meeting with his uncle and his father. And Raghunath Das did that. And everyone became peaceful, and everyone was happy, and they negotiated and everything. So 1 year, in this way, Raghunath Botshorek Gelo, 1 year went. He was perfectly managing all the affairs of the home. Dityo Botshore Palaite Mon Koilo. However, in the second year, and again, Palaite Mon Koilo, he decided, Palaite Mon Koilo, he's thinking again about leaving. Palaite Mon Koilo, Prabhupada translates, he decided to leave home. So he left in the middle of the night, and then his father discovered that he'd gone. He went with his man, they brought him back. And then again, he left, they discovered he'd gone, all the men went searching, they found him, and they brought it back. And this was going on. In fact, this was like a daily affair. After 1 year, he become, again, how am I going to leave this? His mother, she says to his father, he's become mad. He's become mad. It is quite reasonable that she would say that she would say such a thing. That every night the husband runs away. He's become mad, she said. Just keep him by binding him with ropes. Tie him up. Better a tied up mad son-in-law better a tied up mad son than no son at all. And anyway, that's whatever. Maybe they're thinking he'll get over it after some time, but this is just tie him up, she said. In Indra Shama Ashadjo, Govardhan Manjumdar, the father of Raghunath Das, is explaining, he's responding to his wife, Indra Sham Ashadjo, just like his Ashadjo, his opulence is just like Indra, the king of heaven. Sri Apsharasham, his wife, has the beauty of a heavenly Apshara. Aishab Vandite Narileke Jarmon. Even this couldn't bind him. Even this couldn't. His wife is more beautiful than a heavenly Apshara, and he has so much wealth. But still, that doesn't keep him at home. So what would tying him with ropes do? What would tying him with ropes do? He's become a madman of Chaitanya. So just at this time, it's rather, it kind of perplexed. He's escaping every night. The guards are very great surveillance. They're capturing him every time. Then Raghunath Dutt considered something in his mind. It's considered something in his mind. Panihati Grame Pailo Prabhu Darashan. This is text number 43. Panihati Grame. Panihati Grame. It is the same name. Just like there's some places that you'll find, like Benapol, that's another one comes to mind, it's the same name. But Mayapur, again, Krishnanagar and Mayapur, you won't find those names in the Chaitanya Bhagavat or Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Navadip is there, but Mayapur is not there, and Krishna Nagar not there. So these places where we're living, the names are different from what they were in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's here. Antadeep, this is Antadeep, Nadia, Navadip, Antadeep. This is called, but not referred to as Mayapur. Mayapur is a more recent name. But Panihati, same ancient village, ancient town. Panihati, Banapal, Shantipur, ancient village, ancient tradition of Vaishnava Brahmins in Shantipur. And Panihati also. Panihati. So what was Nityananda Prabhu doing there? He was preaching. Let's just consider now where we are in terms of the travels of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We're quite familiar. I'm confident that you're quite familiar with Mahaprabhu's travels in the Madhya Lila, particularly his South Indian tour and his travel to Gaudadesh, which is half of his travels. In this period of the period of his life for 6 years, Madhya Lila, Gaman, coming and going, sometimes to South India, and then to East Bengal, Kabul Vrindavan. Then he went to Vrindavan through Jharkhand, came back, Varanasi, Kashi, Prayag. And then, so that took 6 years, Choi Bochor, 6 years. Mahaprabhu was traveling, South India, and then 2 years remaining in Puri, and then attempt to go to Vrindavan, and then the actual tour to Vrindavan, another 2 years, and then 2 years in Puri. 2 years in Puri, 2 years to go to Vrindavan, and 2 years remaining in Puri, 2 years in South India, so 6 years. So now Mahaprabhu had come back from that tour. He'd been to Vrindavan, and he was returning from the attempt to go to Vrindavan. Ram Kelly returning, he met Raghunath Das. And then Mahaprabhu came back. Then shortly after arriving back in Puri, Mahaprabhu actually went to Vrindavan, and it took 2 years. And now we heard that after meeting Mahaprabhu for the first year, Raghunath Das was the ideal householder. And then at the beginning of the second year, he became mad again and started running away. So then this is just at the time when Mahaprabhu was concluding his travels. And then at that time in Puri, Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda. He ordered Nityananda Prabhu that Nityananda age dilogit jao go to deshe, go prema bhakti, go to ho prakasha. Here I am remaining now in Puri, and I'm not going to move from here. So I want you to distribute without restriction love of Godhead in Bengal. Without apart from you, who can I rely on to fulfill this desire? That's the preaching in Bengal, which was personally, preaching in Bengal was personally delegated to Nityananda Prabhu by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this way, anyone who does something for spreading Krishna consciousness in Bengal, then very easy to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, because Mahaprabhu didn't say that about other places. He didn't say it about South India. He told the Brahmin to stay there, but he said that wherever you are, stay there. He didn't say that about other places, but he said it about Bengal. He personally preached in South India. Mahaprabhu personally preached in South India. And in Vrindavan is Rupa and Sanatan, and in Bengal in Nityananda Prabhu, and in Orissa, Shyamanand, in this way. So he's remaining in Puri, and he ordered Nityananda Prabhu not to come to Jagannath Puri every year for the Rath Yatra festival with the Bengali devotees, as they were planning to do. For that reason, Mahaprabhu remained in Puri. They'll come for Rath Yatra and stay. That's the Gaudiya Mahaprabhu sannyas, the 18 years of his life, and every year Rath Yatra in Puri, and the Gauda Bhaktagan, the Gauda Hoite Vaishnava Shechin Duishakta Mahaprabhu Bhakti Shah Mahabhagavat. They arrive and they come in Jagannath Puri. We've shared that with you on several occasions. So this is the life. This is Mahaprabhu's life. Gauda Bhaktagan, the Bengali devotees come every year and they enjoy. As Advaita Thakur, Srivas Thakur, all of these great devotees from Navadip, they all come and they all engage in Sankirtan with Mahaprabhu and Jagannath Puri. So Mahaprabhu orders Nityananda Prabhu, don't come every year to Jagannath Puri, but stay in Bengal and preach. But anyway, Nityananda Prabhu didn't follow that. He did come every year to participate in the Rath Yatra, but still the rest of the time he was in Bengal, and Mahaprabhu can see he had a big concern for spreading Krishna consciousness in Bengal. So what's Nityananda Prabhu doing here in Panihati? He's preaching. And let's hear the description of his preaching. It's very extraordinary, the avadut, the way he's preaching. Panihati grame pailo Prabhu darshan, and Prabhu darshan, he saw. We're talking about Raghunath. Panihati grame pailo Prabhu darshan. In Panihati, he saw Prabhu. And how was Prabhu? How did he see that Prabhu? Kirtaniya Shebak Shange ar Bahujan. Kirtaniya and Shebak Shange, with his Kirtaniyas. A performer. How did he know they were Kirtaniyas? Did they have a sign? No, I'm a Kirtaniya. No. Obviously they were doing Kirtan. Do you imagine that Kirtan? Nityananda Prabhu accompanied by his Kirtaniyas and Sevaks, the servants, and many other people. That was Nityananda Prabhu's preaching in Bengal. And today in this Leela, we're going to see very detailed revelation, prakash of Nityananda Prabhu's preaching style. Ganga Tide, Brikamule, Pindar Upare, Boshi Achen, Jena Koti, Shurjudai Kore. Ganga Tide, on the bank of Ma Ganga. Brikamule, at the base of a tree. Pindar Upare, sitting on a rock, on a platform. A raised platform, rock. Pindar Upare. Boshi the Lord Nityananda was sitting there. Jeno Koti Shujudoi, just like as effulgent as hundreds of thousands of rising suns. And many devotees sat around Lord Nityananda Prabhu, around him. And seeing this, Raghunath Das, he was astonished. And he fell down, offering his obeisances. And then a servant of Lord Nityananda noticed that Raghunath Das was there offering obeisances. Because already they know Raghunath Das. Nityananda Prabhu was also there when Mahaprabhu remained in Shantipur. He went with him to Ramkeli and returned. And then when Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan, Nityananda Prabhu didn't go. So he was there when Mahaprabhu was in Shantipur, when Raghunath Das came, and so they know Raghunath Das. And so we haven't heard anything since that 2-year period ago. And now again, they meet. So Nityananda Prabhu knows everything. And immediately, how does he speak? What is the first thing he says? The servant says that Raghunath Das is falling down offering obeisances to you. Shune, Prabhu kahe, choda, dilo darshan, choda. The thief has shown himself. Prabhu shune kahe. He says that when the servant says, Raghunath Das is lying down there. The thief has shown himself. You are a thief. You have come to see me. I aj tor kanimu dandan. Today, you come. Today, I'll punish you. Then Nityananda Prabhu, he called Raghunath Das and he placed his lotus feet by force. He grabbed Raghunath Das, put his head, and he placed his lotus feet on the head of Raghunath Das. And he said, you're just like a thief. And instead of coming near, you stay away. Now I have captured you, and now I'll punish you. What an intro. You're a thief. Now I've captured you, and Raghunath is there. He's a thief. Nityananda Babu is like Avadut. He's like intoxicated man. He grabs him. You're a thief. The thief has come. You're a thief. The thief. The thief has come. Chor. The thief has come. Puts his feet on it, loads his feet on his head. The thief has come. Now I'm going to punish you. Raghunath hadn't said anything yet. He's still completely astonished, seeing the behavior of the Avadut. What extraordinary behavior. Who can behave in such a way? Having not seen someone immediately behaving in such a dynamic way. No, nothing like, oh, how are you? How's the family? Immediately takes him the jaw, and takes him, puts his foot on the seat. I will punish you. I will punish you. Immediately. It's extraordinary what he says. What does he say? Punishment. What does he say? He says, Dodi chida, bokon, kohare, morgane, karaho, koraho. Koraha. Dodhi, chida, bokon, koraho, morgane. You feed morgan, my devotees. Dodi, chida. Dodi, chida. Dodhi, and chida. Chida means flat rice. Flat rice. Sometimes chipped rice or flat rice. Chida. And dodhi is yogurt. This is the punishment. Shuni anandito hoilo Raghunath Mone. Shuni anandito hoilo Raghunath Mone. He became completely full of bliss. He became greatly pleased hearing that this is his punishment. Immediately, Raghunath Das did this extraordinary request that Dodi Chira Bikka Koraho Morgone, you feed my associates yogurt and chip rice. So no question, Raghunath Das immediately he's a competent man and he has followers. Immediately he's sending all of his men to the villages to purchase all of the eatables and bring them back. Chira, Dodhi, Dugdha, Sandesh, Ar, Chinikola, Shabdrabha, Anaya, Chodike, Doriya, Dorila, Chiri, Chira, Dhodhi, Chira, the chip rice, Dhodhi, yogurt, Dugdha, milk, Sandesh, Ar, Chini, and sugar, and kola, and bananas. Shabdrabha, they're bringing all of these items from all different villages around. Mahat Chab Nam Shune, Brahman Shajan, Ashte Lagila Lok, Ashanka Ganon. Mahat Chab Nam Shune, when they heard the Brahman Shajan, the society of Brahmins. Now this area, Panihati, This place is very aristocratic. I was fortunate to visit Panihati on several occasions, and on this Chira Dodhi Motshab Day also. And at that time, his Nityalila Pravishta Srila Bhakti Charu Shami Maharaj was present there, and we took bath together in the Ganga, Panihati, on this day, 2 or 3 years ago. So it's a very aristocratic place, and along the also staying a little up the river, many estates, Jamidar, aristocratic, Bhadra, Bengali Brahmins, and pious and Vaishnavas, and all sorts of, but very spiritual places. On the other side of Ganga, a little down, is the Belur Mott, where this Paramhamsa, famous Paramhamsa, Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, Dakineshwari Mandir. It's not far, just a little further down from Panihati. And all big landholders, estates of the wealthy Bengali aristocratic class. And their puja, that's Panihati. We have a property just there at this place. That was given to us, and there's their temple there. There's Shivlinga, 2 Shivlingas, big Shivlinga on the bank of Maganga. We're worshipping, and we're installing deities there, big temple project. That was Srila Bhakti Charu Shami Maharaj's project. So. But lovely place to visit, Panihati. The guard there, you take bath, and Maganga is so beautiful there, Panihati. And it's mentioned several occasions that the incident when Mahaprabhu was again returning through Panihati. And it's described in great detail, the pastimes that he had there, the extremely exalted, full of opulence pastimes, thousands and thousands of people. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu spent 3 months there. That's on another occasion. So this is the preaching, this area is where Lord Nityananda Prabhu preached, Bengal, the whole area here, Panihati, along the banks of Maganga, and also Bangladesh. Nityananda Prabhu preached all through Bengal without restriction. Anargal Prem Bhakti Koro Prakashe. Nityananda Agge Dilo Jao Gaudadeshe. So all through Gaudadesh, Nityananda Prabhu was preaching. So this particular area in the banks of Ganga, Panihati village, a very ancient village, pious and full of Brahmins, and Vaishnav culture there, and the Shaktas, the Vaishnav, the Puja, the Brahmin class, Bengali Brahmin class, the more authentic Brahmins are still there in Panihati. And at this time of Mahaprabhu's time, Nityananda Prabhu was there. So many aristocratic Brahmin devotees, Vaishnavas, and Bhadra, aristocratic Brahmins. So Mahotsav, Nam Shune, when they heard the Mahotsav, a great festival, Mahotsav, Nam Shune, when they heard about it, Brahmana Shojan, Ashi Eti Lagyo, they decided to come. Log, Ashanka gone on, is without innumerable, you cannot count. Ashanka gone on. Cannot count them. So it's interesting that how Raghunath Das responded. He didn't, immediately think we've got a security problem here. We've got to barricade off this. not that we don't do that, because these days that has to be done. It's expected. The police will do. And here, nothing like that. And there seems to be no security in this. Raghunath Das, he just simply arranges for more eatables from more distant villages. And later it's described that the shopkeepers, they came from all distant villages, and Raghunath Das, he purchased their goods and then he fed them the same products. So he arranged 5 or 7, especially large earthen pots. And these, he began soaking chip rice for Lord Nityananda. So it mentions here, the recipe mentions here that first the chip rice was soaked in milk, and then half of it was soaked in dodhi, yogurt, and half was dugda, condensed milk. There's two kinds. One condensed milk, one was yogurt. And then the one with hot milk, the one with yogurt was mixed with sugar and bananas. And the one that was mixed with condensed milk was mixed again with sugar, ghee, and camphor. So they're the 2 types of preparations: camphor, sugar, and ghee, and condensed milk. And the chip rice, the soaked chip rice goes into that. And the other is yogurt and sugar and bananas, and the soaked chip rice goes into that. And that's the recipe. So they were preparing, and in fact, it mentions that he ordered 400. He ordered 400 large round earthen pots, 400. 2 to 4 of that's for storing all of these. And then others, the small pots are there. That's just bringing all of the yogurt and the milk and the camphor and all those things, the ghee. So Lord Nityananda Prabhu, then he changes his cloth and he's sitting on that platform. You can still see that platform and the tree at Panihati. Lord Nityananda Prabhu was sitting there, having put on the clean cloth. He was sitting there. And then on that platform, sitting around him, were all of his eternal associates, who are the Brajavasis. Actually, they're all Dwadasha cowherd boys. They're cowherd boys from Vrindavan, who are the associates of Lord Nityananda, of Balaram, Lord Balaram, and that Brajendra Nandan Jai Shachi Shuta Hoiloshe, the darling of the king of Braj, appeared in the courtyard of Mother Sachi, and Balarama Hoilo Nidai, that Lord Balaram, he's Lord Nityananda. So all Lord Balaram's Dwadasha Gopa, cowherd friends, they appeared here. In fact, there's 12 of them mentioned. So 12 of them mentioned here. I have to just check on the research in that, but probably you'll find that these are the persons that Dwadasha Gopa. There's 12 names mentioned here. So Krishnadas Kaviraj, he mentions the names because by hearing the names of the eternal associates of the Lord, his eternal and dear Antaranga Bhaktagan, just by hearing their names, we're purified. So we can just chant these names as they're all sitting there with Lord Nityananda, Ram Dash, Shundarananda, Dash Garadhar, Murari, Kamalakar, Shadashiv Purandar, Dhananjay, Jagadish, Paramesha Dash, Mahesh, Gaudi Dash, Harai Krishna Dash, Harai Krishna Dash, Udaran Datta Adi Jota Nijirgan, Ufare Boshila Shab, Ke Kohe Ganon, Udaran Datta. Prabhupada mentions he's coming in the family line, Udaran Datta. Udaran Datta, our Jota Nijagan, Udaran Datta and Jota Nijagan, however many other intimate associates of Lord Nityananda there are. Upare Boshila Shop, they all sat on that platform, Upare Boshila Shop, on that raised platform under the tree. Ke Kore Gonon, who could count them? Who can count the dear associates, eternal associates of Nityananda Prabhu? Now, as we mentioned, that the aristocratic Brahmins of Shantipur, of Manihati, hearing that the festival was taking place, they had all arrived. And amongst them, Shuni, Pandit, Bhattacharya, Jota Bipra Oilo, the Pandit, learned scholars, and the Bhattacharjas, the high-class Brahmins. Shuni, Pandit, Bhattacharya, Jota, Bipra, Ailo, amongst all the Brahmins who had come there. The scholars, Prabhupada says that all kinds of learned scholars, Brahmins and priests. Manya Kore Prabhu, Shavare, Upare, Boshila, Manna Kore, showing respect to them, Manna Kore. Prabhu, Shavare, Upare, Boshila. He arranged the sitting place for them on the same raised platform with him. He honored them and made them sit on the same raised platform with him. And in front of all of these great Vaishnavas, Dui Dui, Mrita Kundika, Shabaire, Age Dilo. The Mrita Kundika, what a sweet name, it's a pot, a clay pot. Mrita Kundika. Dui Dui, in front of every Dui Dui means each in front of him had two. Dui Dui, Mrita Kundika, Shabare, Age Dilo, in front of everyone, two. Small clay pots were given. Ek Dugda Chida are Dori Chida Koilo. In one of them, the Dugda Chida, the yogurt and chip rice are, the condensed milk and chip rice. Ek Dugda Chida are Dodhi Chida Koilo. And in the other, the yogurt and chip rice was put. So now this is very extraordinary that it appears that the crowd had unexpectedly become more than could be effectively managed, and there wasn't even room for everybody. And some are spilling out and not getting a sitting place, and they're even crowding out into the Ganga. So this is very extraordinary. That this is just some mismanagement. Well, how can it possibly be mismanagement? Andantarashta, Paramanu Chayantarashtam. Andantarashta, the unlimited universe is situated within him. Andantarashta, Paramanu Chayantarashtam. And Tayantarastam, and he is situated within the atom, within the minute atom. So is there any question of the Lord in his pastimes not having enough room for the crowd? He can just expand the area and make it shorter. He can do what he likes. So it's not some random mismanagement that they're not getting a place. This is the Lord's pastime. This is the Lord, how the Lord likes to enjoy. And this particular Leela at Panihati is describing to us the extraordinary nature of Lord Nityananda and his exalted nature, his divine nature, and his extraordinary style of preaching Krishna consciousness. Just see the image that he's there with his followers. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu dressed very elegantly. A beautiful blue silk cloth and a turban and earrings and so much jewels. And he's surrounded by the Kirtaniyas and the Hari Hadaya Nama Krishna Yatavaya Nama. They're there, and other people are all dancing and they're coming, and then he's sitting on the platform, and Raghunath Das comes, and the thief has come. What a it's just like a completely intoxicated style of preaching. The thief has come today. I will punish you. Come, make a festival, yoga and chip rice for all my, and then immediately Raghunath Das is swept away in the vision of Lord Nityananda. But we just see his preaching is so extraordinary. He's not arranging programs, sitting down, giving the lecture. He's just completely a wild man on the transcendental platform, spreading Krishna consciousness in the most exalted, the most divine way, most attractive way, most opulent and full of extraordinary and devotional flavor pastime. So it's described that the Brahmins, they didn't all get, those who didn't get a place on the platform where Lord Nityananda and his associates were sitting. Some were sitting underneath the platform at the base on the ground, and others went to the bank of the Ganga. And along the banks of the Ganga, they were with their 2 pots of chip rice and yogurt and one in condensed milk. And then there were others that Tire Shtana Paya Ar Joto Ar Kotojon Tire Shtana Paya. Tire Shtana Paya, not getting a place on the bank. Ar Kotojon, so many other people. Jole Nami, they went down into the Ganga. Jole Nami, Dori Chida, Kodaye Bokon, and there they were eating their yogurt and chip rice. So this is not because of some mismanagement. This is how Lord Nityananda Prabhu enjoys his festival. So it's so exalted. And in this type of year, it's so warm. Today I took bath in Maganga Ki Jai. And just as I was coming out from taking bath and drying myself just on the bank of the Ganga, just about to come back to the ashram apartment, and already I'm so hot. It's so hot this few days here, last couple of weeks in Mayapur, so hot. At this time, so hot, just in the Ganga, yes, take prashad. People are in the Ganga for hours, I see, at this time of year. So it's not like, oh, going to no, they're just into the Ganga there and enjoying. Kehu Upare, it's learning, it's worth learning Bengali. Learning to read Bengali is worth it just to relish this one verse. One verse which is so charged with spiritual potency and gives us such a vision of the transcendental pastimes of Lord Nityananda. One verse. Keho upore, keho tole, kehu. Try that again. This one verse. One verse is so sweet. It's just you fall over. Is looking at it, hearing it, understanding it. Is listen. Kehu upore, kehu tole, kehu ganga tire, bish jon tin thai poribeshan kore. So bish jon, 20 men, tin thai, in these 3 places, poribeshan kore. They're distributing the prasada. They're distributing the pots with the yogurt and the condensed milk. And where are they? Where are the 3 places? Kehu upore, some on the platform with Lord Nityananda. Kehu tole, some at the base of the tree. Kehu Ganga Tire, and some along the banks of the Ganga. Bij John, Tin Tai, 20 men in these 3 places. Pori Beshan Kore, they're distributing prasad. This is the transcendental picture that Nityananda Prabhu is painting to enjoy his pastimes on the bank of Ganga. And this is the order he gave. Create this. He ordered Raghunath Das, you create this. I want to see this. I want to enjoy this. You feed all my associates yogurt and chip rice. And he knows how many people are coming. He knows they're going to be spilling over into the Ganga. And in this way, he's enjoying. This is text number 75. Gopa jati ami bahut gopagon shonge. Ami shuki pai a pulin bhojan kore. Ami shuki pai. I get happiness. A pulon bhojan. A pulin. This river. River bhojan. This picnic on the bank of the river. Ami shuki pai a pulin bhojan ronge. A pulin bhojan ronge. This enjoyment of eating on the banks of the river. Because Gopa jati ami. I'm a cowherd boy. Gopa jati ami. Bahu gopagon shonge. And so many cowherd boys with me. This is the preaching of Nityananda Prabhu. I'm a cowherd boy. I'm surrounded by so many other cowherd boys. We enjoy taking the picnic on the bank of the Ganga, on the bank of the river. This is the answer that Nityananda Prabhu gave to Raghav Pandit, who came there. Raghav Pandit. So Panihati, here where Lord Nityananda Prabhu is performing his pastime on the bank of the Ganga, here is just nearby, 100 meters, is Raghav Bhavan, the house of Raghav Acharya, Raghav Pandit. So he come and mentioned to Lord Nityananda that Thakur, Goshai, I've cooked so many items for you, come to my place. Because there was no house. This is at the bank of the Ganga. But actually Nityananda Prabhu, he would take prasadam in the house of Raghav Pandit. Mahaprabhu said that he's present in 4 places. In Nityananda Nache, where Lord Nityananda Prabhu dances, Sachi Randane, where Sachimata cooks, Shiva Shangane, in the courtyard of Srivas Thakur, and Raghav Bhavane, in the house of Raghav Pandit in Panihati. These 4 places. Where Lord Nityananda dances, where Sachimata cooks, and the courtyard of Srivas Thakur. Where did Sachimata cook? She cooked in Jogpit, and she cooked in Shantipur. So when he's requesting come to my place, and Nityananda Prabhu said, all of this, Aidrabo. Prabhu koi Aidrabe dine koraya bhojan, I'll take this in the daytime. And this chira dohi and chira dugda. Ratre tomar ghore prasad korimu bokon. At night time I'll come to your place and eat that prasad. But now, and then he says, because the next verse, he says, most important verse of today, certainly is the most important. Who is Lord Nityananda? Gopa jati ami. Gopa jati, I'm a cowherd boy. Gopa jati ami. Bahut gopagon shonge, with so many cowherd boys. Ami shuki pai a pulin bhojan ronge. I get so much happiness eating like this on the banks of the river. And then Nityananda Prabhu in meditation, seeing all of the devotees taking the dhodi and chira, shakal, loker, chira, punna, jabe hoilo, they're just about fully satisfied. Jabe hoilo, when it's been served to everyone, and the chip rice and chira had been punna shabe hoilo, been almost served to everyone. Dhyane tobe prabhu mahaprabhu re anilo. Dhyane tobe prabhu, Nityananda Prabhu in meditation. Mahaprabhu re anilo, he brought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there. And in this way, Moto, Nitai Bule, Shokol Mondale, wandering throughout all of the eaters of the prasadam, along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, taking a little morsel of each item and putting it in the mouth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking a little morsel and putting it in the mouth of Lord Nityananda. And this way Lord Nityananda is wandering. The devotees didn't know, they couldn't see. Only some. Ki kore beraya iha kehun nahi jane. No one knows what Lord Nityananda is doing. Mahaprabhu darshan pai kona bhagyavan, but some of them were fortunate enough to be able to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there. So there's more on this incident, and we can carry on with this later. Next time, I think we can carry on with Raghunath Das later next week. And if there's any questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. This is Sangeeta here.
Gita.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, how in today's time when we hear these pastimes on a festival day, what would be the what should be our mood, or what is the kind of implementation or a change that we should while we hear the pastimes, what is the kind of change of actions or a commitment that we need to execute in our behavior in bhakti?
Sangeeta. The hearing in itself is the goal, hearing and remembering. So everything that we're doing, just like you mentioned, change, okay, the change will come as a result. It comes as a result of the evolution of consciousness, the development of consciousness, just like getting cured from a disease. Just don't have the symptoms anymore. And that's the result of the hearing process. So that you're thinking, we have to implement this. What is there to implement? Well, that's good, because it has generated some type of self-introspection, and you're thinking that, there should be improvement. But it's not specifically, it doesn't have to be in any specific way that after each session, there should be 3 points that you're going to apply. I mean, some people may look at it like that, and you could also look at it like that, but it's not my intention, because I'm just hearing myself for my own purification. Just by hearing, the mind is able to, because we're hearing the Sukham Mukhat Amrita Drabya, Sukham Mukhat Amrita Drabya. We're hearing specifically from the lips of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Prabhupada's translations to those also, so that it becomes so sweet. Sukham Mukhat Amrita. And it's just tasting that nectar of hearing. Gaur Madhu Lila. That's it. We just drink that every day. Drink it like you take other nourishment for the physiological body. You just drink it for the nourishment of the spiritual self, for the soul. And as you drink and drink and drink, remembrance of Krishna becomes more it becomes more regular. Remember, it becomes more natural for you to be in Krishna consciousness. And symptom of that is that these material disease, you become cured from it. Material things no longer appear attractive. So it's not necessarily a matter of, we have to apply these points. It's just a matter of hearing and contemplating. Kavi bhakti rashastra koraya likon Chaitanya Katha shune kavi Chaitanya chinton. The Goswamis are described in Vrindavan that Kavi bhakti rashastra koraya likon. Sometimes they're writing the devotional scriptures. Kavi Chaitanya Katha shune. Sometimes they're talking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kavi Chaitanya chinton. And sometimes they're just reflecting. They're reflecting on the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the qualities of Chaitanya Chintan, thinking about Chaitanya. So ultimately, that's what we want: the mind to become absorbed. The mind that may mean that there's changes in your life, and in the beginning, certainly there'll be major changes. But after sometimes things may not be changing that much. But it doesn't matter if you're Chaitanya Chintan, if you're Ananya Chaitanya Satatam, Jomam Smariti Nityasaha, those who are remembering me, Ananya Chaitasya Satatam, Ananya Chaitasya Satatam, remembering me without deviation, Yomam Smariti Nityasaha, those who are doing that constantly, Tashaham Shulava Partha, for them I'm very easy to attain. That's the process of bhakti, to just hear and just contemplate, remember the Lord at all the times in your life. And the more we hear, the more the mind becomes purified, the heart becomes And the ear becomes attracted, the mind becomes attracted. That's the self becoming attracted to hearing and remembering the Lord. That's the fundamental practice of Bhagavad Bhakti. Shravanam, Vishnu, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. It is our process of hearing. And if you can discuss with others, that's even better. We're discussing a little now, but you can discuss with others. You talk about things that Lord Nityananda Prabhu, why you ask and discuss, why he just immediately spoke about yogurt and chip rice. I mean, and it was so particular. And those things are not ordinary. We never hear about them again. They're not usually the items. And why he didn't make enough room and they were in the Ganga and all of these interesting things that you reminded, you're thinking about the Lord. It's awakening your eternal relationship with the Lord. Sheshambandha nahija brita janama gelotar. And Narottam Mahashahi says that the very purpose of life is to establish that relationship. So when you think that you think of Lord Nityananda as your Prabhu, and you appreciate his nature and his qualities and his pastimes, and you're able to share those with others, that is what the lover does in regard to the beloved. And that's the purpose of life, Sheshambandha, to establish that relationship, establish a relationship with the Prabhu. How you do that? Because you become a servant, you become a worshipper of everything he does. You become a lover and worshipper, and you appreciate every little thing that he does. He changed his cloth before he sat down on the platform. That's amazing. But everything about him. How are you going to love the Lord how are you going to develop love for him if you don't know him? You read these pastimes of Chaitanya, and is he more accessible in the Gaur Leela? Is more accessible. There's only in here. It's just intimate pastimes. And so the hearing, it's just hearing. That's it, the Shangita. The answer is hearing in itself. It doesn't require anything else.
Agree. And Prabhuji, one more question. When we say Bhagavad Gita is graduation, Srimad Bhagavatam is the post-graduation, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is PhD. So while, of course, it's very naturally understood for Bhagavad Gita to transition to Srimad Bhagavatam, is it by virtue of that consciousness or purification that we need to go in a sequence of going Bhagavad Gita, then Srimad Bhagavatam, then Chaitanya Charitamrita? Because I always struggle to initially create that kind of knowledge and the bondage to Chaitanya Charitamrita. So is it a sequence? Is there a sequence? Is the purification sequence that we need to go through?
Oh, wow, what a question. Oh, I have to think about that. I have to think about that now. Immediately, I can say that the Prabhupada was lecturing on Chaitanya Charitamrita in 1965 or 1966. You can hear the lectures Prabhupada gave on Chaitanya Charitamrita in 1966. So, and he wrote Teachings of Lord Chaitanya in 1968. So that's before even the second canto.
Mm-hmm.
What to speak of all the later cantos. So Prabhupada never had any rule that you have to go through the Bhagavatam before you go to the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Okay.
Yeah, because he translated it and published it. And he began Chaitanya Charitamrita came also before the Bhagavatam was completed. So you don't have to wait.
Right.
You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. You just read all the books. It's nice to have a plan of going through everything at least once, all the books. But
yeah, more than the sequence, Prabhuji, it's more about the ability to understand and get that kind of affection or being engaged.
Oh, Yasmin Pratishlo, it's the same author. They're all connected. The same Vyas Muni that wrote the Bhagavatam, Krishna Leela Bhagavate Kohe Bed Vyas. Vyas, he wrote Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Leela Vyas Vrindavan Das. And Vrindavan Das Thakur, he appears as Vyas Muni to write Chaitanya Bhagavat. Mm-hmm. And then Chaitanya Kaviraj Goswami, he says, there were some things that Vrindavan Das Thakur he didn't include, so I'm including those in this book. So it's all the same effort of Vyas Muni. Okay. Vrindavan Das Thakur is his Vyasadeva, and Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he's coming to complement Vyasadeva. So if you just read this, it's fine. Because everything in the Bhagavatam is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. In fact, in the Rup Shikha, which eventually we'll get to, where we got to this verse, that Mahaprabhu said that Krishna Tattva Bhakti Tattva Rasha Tattva Pranto, Eshob Shikalu Prabhu Bhagavat Shidanto. He's teaching this conclusion of all the Bhagavatam in one chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So if you're fortunate, somehow or other to come in contact with the Chaitanya Charitamrita, then why delay your complete absorption in it?
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, why delay that? Who knows? Why delay? Okay. So thank you all very much. So we'll carry on with Raghunath Das and what happened after the Lord Nityananda brought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in meditation next week, and I look forward to sharing that with you at that time. Hare Krishna.